Yes, everybody, welcome back to the Michael Talks football channel. Or if you're new around here, welcome to the channel. It is now time for my Copa America predictions. So we're going to do all the group stage to the quarterfinal, to the semifinal, final, and who will lift the 48th Copa America, which is the oldest international tournament in the world. People, who do you think is going to win? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think Argentina will go back to back? Will Uruguay capture number 16 alongside Argentina? They're both fighting for number 16. Can Brazil, after a disastrous, and I mean disastrous, 2023, come back and win a Copa America? Or will we see Colombia, Los Cafeteros, do it again for the second time in their history? What about Ecuador? Can they finally rise to the occasion? And what about the CONCACAF teams? Because what we've seen recently from the CONCACAF teams is they are getting absolutely obliterated and looking like a bunch of Sunday League teams. That's what they're looking like. So, everybody, get your thoughts in the comments down below if you're watching on replay. If you're in the chat right now, most important is you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. As it is always an international tournament, we have a fire intro. So enjoy, people.
Córdoba, ¡lucha! ¡Dios, ayúdame! La prisa bien, ¡ahí Messi! ¡Gol! ¡Le pegó! ¡Chile campeón! ¡Chile campeón! ¡Porran! ¡Cántalo! ¡Se terminó, Leo!
There we go, people. The 48th Copa America. I absolutely love this tournament. I'll give a sort of a backstory. I remember first time watching the Copa America really intensely was 2011. Because 2007 I didn't really get to see it anywhere. 2011 they had it on broadcast here in Finland, and I was just amazed at the passion. And really, it's just about the passion of South American football. There's just something about it that they just live and die by it. It is a religion. When we always talk about football as a religion in South America and Mexico and Panama, Costa Rica, not really USA, because obviously some people really like football in the United States, but it is a religion. So this Copa America means so much to the continent of South America, and it's wonderful now that CONCACAF are here, because they're going to realize there is levels to this. You can eat at McDonald's, and then you're going to go eat a nice filet mignon or something like that. But everybody, let me big up to everybody in the chat already. Big up to Judgmental, how are you doing? Big up to Football Ends, shout out Ends, how you doing, buddy? Hopefully you're doing well. Big up to AD744. Big up to Rank Talks Ball. Remember, guys, Rank did a vlog as an away fan for Boca, but he was in spy mode. Big up to Rank, so go check out his channel. Big up to Yosore. Big up to Sammy, how you doing, Sammy? Hopefully you are doing well. Big up to Silas Koiman, easy Chile dub. We will find out. Big up Husam, bro. How you doing, my man? Thanks, bro. Thank you very much. Yes, people. Also, tomorrow we're going to have the 15K celebration stream. So it's going to be a Q&A and a giveaway. So there's going to be a giveaway there. So everybody, remember to join tomorrow for the 15K. Se terminó, Leo. Big up to Paranul says, Colombia give the best to the Yanks. We're going to talk about the Yanks and Greg. Big up to Matt as well. Everybody, let's get straight into it. We're going to go group by group, kind of give I've already done all of the previews for the nation, so if you want to check that out, it's all in the Copa America playlist. But now we're going to go a bit more game to game. What's really going to happen within this tournament? Can Panama surprise? And what about Group B? Because Group B, well, we'll get into it. Big up to BZ as well, since Bolivia and Panama are about to do it. Bezzy, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. So, let us begin, people. Also, if you want to do your predictor, they have it on FootMob. I'm not obviously sponsored by FootMob, but I'm just saying FootMob have a wonderful predictor for the Copa America. So, Group A, then, it is Canada, Peru, Argentina, and Chile. Let's break this down first. The CONCACAF team, which is Canada, who are making their first ever appearance at the Copa America. And now, I didn't get to talk about it in my preview, Jesse Marsch is the manager. And recently, in his first match, I can't read too much into it, they got obliterated by Holland 4-0. I mean, your first two games are Netherlands and Canada. And France tonight. That's your first two games for Jesse Marsch. Welcome to international football. The issue that Canada are going to have is they have a lot of talent going forward. A lot of talent. Jonathan David, Kyle Larin, even though Kyle Larin hasn't had the greatest of times this season. Then you have Tajon Buchanan, Eustachio, a lot of guys, Alfonso. There's so many quality players for Canada. But one thing I've realized in the past year is they're not ready to take that next step. I think they were satisfied really to qualify for the World Cup was a massive achievement for Canadian football. It's a massive achievement. But now you want to take that next step. As hosting the World Cup, this is great preparation for hosting the World Cup. You finally got a good manager, even though I think John Herdman was the perfect guy for the job. He worked with that program for a long time. He understood the players. Jesse Marsch is an upgrade. But we've seen with Jesse Marsch, he's not really the in-game tactics, and he's very stubborn in his own way. That's the one flaw that Jesse has. So Jesse now needs to realize, you're going up against Argentina. You have to be a little bit better defensively as a unit. You cannot go toe-to-toe. If you go toe-to-toe, Argentina will rip you a new one. Absolutely rip you a new one. So this is going to be fascinating to see. I don't think there's pressure on Canada. Really, the objective of this tournament for Canada is just be competitive. Show that you're better than Peru. If you cannot beat this Peru side, then there's a lot of work Jesse has with this Canadian team. Defensively, they are not good, though. I don't know what has happened to this team. They were very solid during World Cup qualifiers in CONCACAF. And you could say it's CONCACAF and this sort of stuff. But they looked better defensively. Recently, I mean, even the Nations League, they don't look good. They don't. They're conceding 3 to Jamaica? At home? In the cold? Come on. So then you're conceding 4 to Netherlands. It's going to be an intriguing tournament to see what Canada can do. And I obviously talked about a lot that Alfonso Davies really, we see his play hasn't been the greatest this season. Obviously, it's injuries and this sort of stuff. But Canada are a good team. But how will their midfield and defense? I'm not really worried about the attack. I think the objective also, if you want to make it to the quarterfinals of your Canada, you have to outscore the teams. It's as simple as that. You're going to have to win 3-2, 3-1, 2-1. I don't see them keeping a clean sheet in any of these. Maybe against Peru, because Peru are just attacking-wise don't have a lot going forward. Canada will have to outscore, and we'll see how far they go. Now let me first do this. So this team will be right here. This team will be right there. There is no questions. Argentina will be number 1 in this group. If anybody has an argument against Argentina being second, if Argentina finished second in this group, disaster. It's an automatic disaster. You have Argentina got a golden empanada from the streets of Buenos Aires right on their plate. You have Canada, Peru, and Chile. Argentina avoided Colombia. Well, I would say USA. I would say Mexico, but those two teams clearly are not ready for this tournament. They avoided Colombia, and they avoided Paraguay. Those two teams could have been in their group. Argentina got it easy. They got it easy. So there's really no questions with this team. This team are not under pressure to win. They're not. People, when they've won a Copa America, a Finalissima, and a World Cup in the last 3 years, there is no pressure. They can just go into this tournament. They'll make it to semifinals, guarantee. I think it's a guarantee by now. But they don't really have pressure to win it. If they had not won the Copa America or World Cup, we would have a totally different conversation right now about this side. But they're going to be chilling. They'll be chilling, and look at where they're training right now. Inter Miami. They built a new complex for them. Look, Argentina, the only question mark I will have with them is who's going to start at striker. And everybody let me know your thoughts in the chat, and if you're watching a replay, who would you start at striker? Julian Alvarez or Lautaro? I think that's the one question mark with this team. Otherwise, you already know who's going to be the starters, who's going to be in the midfield, defensively, goalkeepers, no doubt. So I think Argentina, they're just ready for this. Their real test will begin in the semifinals. That's when their tournament begins. This is basically pre-training. So let's now get to the sides that could finish second. So I already touched on Canada. Let's talk about Peru and Chile. Let's talk about Peru. This could be a long tournament. And I have absolutely. By the way, I need to get their home kit because their home kit is nice for Peru. I might have to get that kit. Peru, their generation is done. It's done. It's time for a rebuild. Sometimes you need to know when to put oil in the car, and they haven't done that yet. They're still relying. Paulo Guerrero is a freaking legend. He is a legend, but he needs to know himself when it's time to retire. He's not going to start. I mean, if I see Paulo Guerrero start in these games, dear Lord, save us now from watching that. Because there's Lapadula, who's not had a great season. If we're going to be honest, he hasn't had a great season. Then Andre Carrillo is still involved with this team. So they really don't have an up-and-coming striker or forward where you're like, Yeah, maybe if they give him the ball, he could stand out. I don't see it with this team compared to Chile, who we're going to talk about. They're really the only hope for, and Rank just talked about it, the only hope for Peru is Advincula just turns into prime Cafu and scores like 5 goals this tournament, which he's capable of because Advincula is great on both feet. But you cannot rely on a right wing back. You can't. That's the issue with Peru. They don't have enough. They're going to keep it very low scoring. Fossati, it seems like it's that type of manager where he just has a team very organized. They won't concede. It will be fine. But will they score? I think that's the more of the issue for Peru. Look, it's going to be a difficult tournament for them. Can they make it through? Of course. They've made it to the semifinals now, what? 4 out of the last 5 Copa Americas? That's what Peru do. But that's from the older generation. And that was under Ricardo Gareca. Who, Ricardo Gareca did a damn move and said, I'm leaving you guys. I'm going to Chile. Chile did the ultimate +4 Uno card move right there. The ultimate +4 Uno card and hired Ricardo Gareca. What a hiring. Because Chile have tried so many different managers in the past couple years. None of them have worked. None of them. They just don't seem to get a real identity with the team. There's no real passion from the players. But honestly, from those 2 games, and I rewatched the highlights against Albania for Chile, just to see, like, okay, defensively, could they work a little bit better? And obviously watch the France game. I said, Chile are completely different. You watch this team in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers when they went away to Venezuela or at home to, Paraguay. There was nothing from Chile. Absolutely nothing. It was so flat that you thought to yourself, what's the point of watching Chile? La Roja. Well, March arrives and everything just changes. And now we see an identity. Now we see this team is going to play quick attacking football, pressing and play out from the back, which I think will suit this team a lot, especially Alexis Sanchez. Alexis Sanchez is not going to play down the wing. That's not his. He doesn't have the legs to do it. He doesn't have the speed. What he does have, footballing IQ. That's Alexis. Alexis Sanchez has a very good footballing IQ, playing in that 10 role. Then you have Davila and Osorio on the right and left side. Now, Eduardo Vargas is continuing to score for the national team. But then if he doesn't work out, bring on Bredin Diaz. The only issue I have with Chile is maybe defensively they will concede goals. They're going to be in a similar situation to Chile. They're going to have to outscore their opponents. And I think that's going to be... So the Canada-Chile game, I mean, it could be like 3-3, 3-2, people. Get ready. Get your seatbelts ready. It could be 3-3, 3-2. But Chile are a better team than Peru. And it's so fascinating and it's such a great narrative. The first game, the absolutely first game, is Chile and Peru. The Clásico de Pacifico is going to be the first game. And Gareca is going to look at Peru and said, thank God I left that sinking ship. Because it is the Titanic right now, Peru national team. They just need to get a rebuild and going. So this is how I think this group will go. I think Peru will be last. Sorry to my Peruvians out there. You guys got one of the best cuisines in the world, but the national team just doesn't equate to the food you have. And I think I got Canada third. I think Canada just defensively will not be good enough against Chile. Chile can score goals against this Canadian team. So really it's going to be between that game between Canada and Chile. It will be a shootout for the second spot. And I think Chile will have just a little bit more to edge it out. And then it's crazy how about maybe 6 months ago, 7 months ago, if you told anybody, Chile are going to make it to a quarterfinal of a Copa America, they said, let me know what you're smoking, buddy, because I'll take it too. I'll take it too. But now, it's just crazy how football. Some teams, you see like Germany, you see with Brazil, all you just need is a little bit of change. A little bit of change, and it can be beautiful things. But Argentina will get 9 points. Chile will maybe get 4 to 6 points, somewhere in that region. Canada might get like 3 or 4. And I'm going to be honest, I think Peru might get like maximum 1 point. Just a 1 point, people. It's not going to be a pretty sight to see. So, let us move on then to Group B. Because Group B, Group B is going to be interesting. Remember, everybody, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Big up to Samasi, Matt, Ottoman, Rank, HR, how you all doing? Hopefully you are all doing well. Best cuisines. It is not guinea pig, bro. Have you ever heard of ceviche, Matt? Thank you very much. Ceviche, one of the best foods in the world. Let's get to Group B then, because this is gonna be an interesting debate. We got Mexico, Jamaica, Ecuador, and Venezuela. Let's start with my Jamaican guys, right? Let me start with my Jamaican guys. Sorry to my Jamaican guys, they're gonna go last. Okay? There's no disrespect to Jamaica. They got a lot of good players. Demarai Gray, Nicholson, Antonio, you name it. They got a lot of good players. Reed, Andre Blake, if he's going to be, I think, healthy enough for it, because he was in the injured list for the World Cup qualifiers. And big up to Ryan, who was on with me during the Jamaica preview. He did say that their World Cup qualifier game at home was not good enough. So that's not really a good sign. But Jamaica, this group actually will fit them perfectly, because they don't need to dominate the ball. The one thing this team struggles so much is keeping possession and being dynamic in possession. If you allow Jamaica 70% of the ball, they don't know what to do with it. They don't. They're going to treat it like a hot potato, because no player has any dynamic abilities within their play, especially in the midfield. The midfield doesn't have any creative play. They're very good hard workers, can defend well, but when they're going up against technical midfields like Ecuador, Venezuela, even Mexico, yes, Mexico are not great, and we've seen in the last 2 games, they still have a better midfield than Jamaica. So that's going to be a big issue. But if Demarai Gray can continue playing the way he is for the national team, he can be their biggest threat. Nicholson keeps on scoring for the national team. He's going to be a big threat. So I'm not really worried about Jamaica defensively. I think they can keep a low scoring. That's going to be their DNA for this tournament. If you want to succeed, if you're Jamaican, just keep it low scoring and hope you get those 1 or 2 goals from the other guys. But I just don't think it's going to be enough in this group. I think Jamaica will be competitive. They will get a goal, because in their last 2 Copa America appearances, Jamaica have scored a grand total of 0 goals. I think they will get a goal in this Copa America. It could probably be against Mexico, but against Ecuador and Venezuela, even though Ecuador and Venezuela don't have great attacks, defensively they are rock solid teams as well. So this group is going to be very low scoring. Very low scoring. It's a shame Leon Bailey is not involved, because I think he would have been a very good piece to it, but, unfortunate things happen. So I think Jamaica will finish last. I would love to be wrong about it, and I hope they prove us wrong, but we have seen so far with CONCACAF teams, they're getting obliterated. So it's not looking great for the CONCACAF teams. So let's now get to first, second, and third. Let me start with who I think will be first in this group. Let me just put them there. All right? Even though in my preview, I talked a lot about how Ecuador, Felix Sanchez, I don't rate the manager one bit. I just don't think he's good enough. I think he has a talented team in his disposal, and he's just doing nothing with it. He's doing nothing with it. He's like a chef. He's a Michelin star chef, but he has terrible ingredients. But maybe he could make it better. Could you imagine if Ricardo Gareca was manager of Ecuador? Bro, I would say they would win the Copa America. Because that's how... When you have a team of Caicedo, Pacho, Hincapié, Angel Preciado, you name it, Kendry Pais, who I absolutely love. Ecuador have one of the best talented teams at this Copa America. You could say 5th or 6th. They're on par with the USA. Talent-wise, people, talent-wise. But there's always this history with Ecuador. They don't perform. They don't. They've been to one semifinal. Yeah, one semifinal in their history. In the entire history of Ecuadorian football, they have been to one semifinal. So they're not really a good tournament team. Yes, they have performed well in World Cups, and I think they really should have done well at that last World Cup, and I think they had very good performances, just Koulibaly had other ideas. The issue Ecuador are going to have is, who the heck is going to score goals in this team? Who? If you're going to rely on Ener Valencia in the year 2024, that's like relying on a Nokia cell phone this time around. It ain't going to work. It could work for a couple of months, but after that, forget about it. That Nokia phone will die. And Ener Valencia is a legend of Ecuadorian football, but the guy he's not that level anymore. He isn't. He had a great World Cup. So, if you're Ecuadorian, please let me know. Please let me know in the comments down below in the chat. Who would you start at striker? Would you go with Rodriguez or then Ener Valencia? That's just a big issue. You're going to rely on a 17-year-old Kendry Payus, who's an absolutely insane, talented footballer. He's amazing. But we cannot rely on him to just say, you get the goals and you get the assists. Because that's what he did at times in the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. He got the assist to Felix Torres, against Uruguay when they won 2-1. See, this is the thing. The only loss Uruguay have had recently is to Ecuador. Now, obviously, you could say altitude and Quito and that sort of stuff. Ecuador are going to have to do the exact same thing. And I told this to Alejandro. Shout out to Alejandro. He's a subscriber and he's Ecuadorian. I told him they're going to have to do the same thing as Paraguay in 2011. Draw every game, keep low scoring, and draw yourself to the final. And then in the final, anything can happen. That's going to be the blueprint for this Ecuadorian team. But I'm just mostly intrigued on who will get the goals on this side. I think they will still have enough in this group because they got Caicedo, man. Caicedo is the best player by far in this group. By far. And he can run the show and he performs all the time for the Ecuador national team. Yes, people can say, Michael, he's been a flop for Chelsea, even though I don't think he's been a flop. He struggled for the first couple months at Chelsea, but the last 3 months, I thought he actually played really well with Chelsea and really showed that level he can be. He's still a young player, but when he puts that Ecuador kit, he turns into a beast. An absolute beast. So with him, with the defense that they got, they're not going to concede a lot of goals. I think they could get 2 1-0 wins in this group, and Felix Sanchez will say, job done, boys. Job done. We got it. So I think Ecuador will finish first. Now it gets to who will finish second. So I'm glad I waited a couple friendlies for this. Because if I did this before the friendlies, I would have been like, maybe I'm a bit more optimistic about Mexico. They brought new players in. They got rid of Chucky Lozano. They got rid of Henry Martin. They got rid of Ochoa. And then the friendlies appear, and we just see this team are not at that level. They're not at that level. Now, can Mexico beat Ecuador and Venezuela on their day? 100% they can. They still got... This is Mexico at the end of the day, people. I know it's not the same team and they don't have the same spirit, but I am banking on they show up at this Copa America. I don't think they're going to make it to a semifinal or final. Let's not get crazy here, but at least show up. At least show some pride. That's the one thing this team has to do. Show some pride. The problem is they're going up against Venezuela. And Venezuela are a very difficult team to play against under their manager, Fernando Batista. They don't score a lot of goals either. If you look at their results and their performances, they're a good defensive team, but they just lack those goal scorers. So I'm looking at Soteldo. Obviously, some people may know Soteldo. Obviously, Rondon, who's been very good for Pachuca this season, scored against Columbus Crew in the, what the heck is that? Basically, the CONCACAF Champions League. He scored in the final against Columbus Crew. Then Machis, remember him, Darwin Machis, he plays in La Liga. So there's a lot of good players on this Venezuelan team. Then you got Osorio and Angel, the 2 center backs. They're very key to this team. I think Venezuela could surprise here because they kind of just play tournament football. It doesn't have to be expansive. You don't need to score a lot of goals. They just get the job done. They arrive and they leave. That's what Venezuela do. And I just wonder then in the Copa America, do they have enough, dynamic players? Because when I saw the performance away to Peru, I feel like they were left frustrated, and you could just see that they lack a little bit of talent going forward. They have good players like the Soldinos, and I talked about it. But when the team is in a low block, that's when Venezuela struggle a lot. Now, Yangel Herrera in the midfield, we know how good he's been with Girona this season. He's going to have to be exceptional. So that game, I think it really comes down to Mexico-Venezuela on who finishes second in this group. And who will it be? I still have no clue. I've done this bracket and I've done the group stage predictions in my head and just looking on the computer and just talking about it. I'm like, who is going to finish second? Because I'm for certain on who's going to finish first and fourth. It just comes down to second place between Mexico and Venezuela. And you know what? I think Mexico will still somehow do it. I know they've been terrible, people. Trust me. I watched the Uruguay game. I had to rewatch it. They were god-awful. I mean, if they defend like that in the Copa America, and if they defend like that, like they did against Brazil, Mexico will give up like 5-6 goals in this group. They can simply not defend at all right now. Edson Alvarez, who was one of the best DMs at this tournament, has been awful in those 2 games. He gave up 2 goals. Basically, 2 of his bad passes led to Uruguay goals. So, I want to have some faith in Mexico. I feel like they can still do it. I think they will just slightly be better than Venezuela. Maybe the home factor will kick in and we'll see how good Venezuela are. Maybe Venezuela, they're just focused on World Cup qualifiers. This tournament is just really to see, can their players really take it to that next level? Can the fans believe? I still think they are a good side. I will repeat this again. Venezuela are a good side. Maybe just Mexico just slightly edge it. So this is my group standings. Ecuador first, Mexico second, Venezuela third, Jamaica fourth. It all comes down to that game between Mexico and Venezuela. Oof. It could be a bore fest or it could be an ultra attacking game. Either way, we will find out. Let me know your group stage predictions in the comments down below and the chat right now for Group B as we move on to Group C. There's a reason why, people, I'm not wearing my USA kit. There's a reason. There's a reason why, people. Let me just start off with this, right? This is how it's going to go. It's going to be like that. They're going to be first. They're going to be first. Uruguay are by far the best team in this group. By far. Bielsa has just got this team playing ultra good football. When you just watch Uruguay, I don't even need to see the manager on the sideline to know who the manager is with the way they play. Did you see how they decimated and conquered Mexico 4-0? And that had 16 guys. They went from sea level of Montevideo, or wherever they had their training camp, and went to the altitude of Denver and said, cool, you're going to hold 4 right now. Now, yes, you could say defensively Mexico were terrible and this sort of stuff. Uruguay are just, they got the mojo. They're drinking the best mate in the world right now. That's how they're playing. They're drinking like they got the best mate and they know it's the best. Uruguay, I have no question mark, absolutely no question marks, they're going to win this group. They will destroy Bolivia. I think Panama could give them a good game, but Uruguay will come out and win still 3-1. And then the USA, we'll talk about them in a second. Uruguay just got everything. They got the midfield. One of the best, I would say, the second best midfield of this Copa America. Keep an eye on De La Cruz. If people don't know, and if you don't watch Copa Libertadores or watch the Argentinian League last season, De La Cruz, the guy's a baller. I absolutely love him. Then obviously you have Araujo, you have Jimenez, Ugarte, Valverde. I just tell you the names, and Uruguay is like, it's just so crazy. This country has 3.5 million people, but they just produce baller after baller after baller. And then you got Darwin Núñez, who, yes, as Liverpool fans, you could say, oh man, he doesn't perform for Liverpool. Why does he not do this? Just feels comfortable. And they play to his strengths on La Celeste, and he is a phenomenal striker. So I think Darwin, at this Copa America, I think he could become top goal scorer. Put a 1 if you agree. Put a 1 if you agree that Darwin Núñez will be the top goal scorer, or put a 2 if you think it's somebody else. I just think they got a lot of good things going for them. And yeah, Rank, you made a good point as well. Pelistri. This guy shows up. He shows up. Now let's get to who will finish second. Okay? I think Bolivia will finish last. Sorry to my altitude brothers. I gotta go to La Paz and I gotta go to Bolivia. It looks like a beautiful country. But yeah, Bolivia. If Bolivia had all of their group stage games in Denver, hey, maybe Bolivia could do something. Maybe they could do something. But unfortunately, I think they play some games at sea level. I'm not too sure where Bolivia are going to be playing at, but they're definitely not playing at altitude. So, and it definitely is not the La Paz altitude, because we know that altitude hits you hard. But Bolivia are a young team. They have a lot of players from Bolivar, and we know Bolivar, they won their group in Copa Libertadores. They made it to the quarterfinals last year. They're a very good team, Bolivar. But they perform at the altitude. Sea level, they've gotten better. So this team, they're young. I want to say one player, though. And he was a player that I was watching at the Olympic tournament that was held, where was it held? In Venezuela, yeah. The one that Paraguay won is Gabriel Villami. He's the midfielder. Now he plays, I think, for Liga de Quito, if I'm not mistaken. Keep an eye on him. He's a very exciting midfielder. I think he was at Bolivar before, and now he's at Liga de Quito. But that's about it. I think Bolivia will struggle. They're gonna get some good experience from this tournament just to know what level they're at, and they'll know that, yeah, this is a step too far for us. But hey, I always want to be surprised, and maybe Bolivia can be one of the shocks of this Copa America. If Bolivia, I already said this in my shorts, if Bolivia make it out of this group, I will go buy their kit. I will go buy their kit immediately. That's just my thoughts. Now let's get to second place. See, I'm still going with the USA, right? And I got Panama in third. Let me quickly talk about Panama. We know they're a good side, people. They're just a well-drilled team under Thomas Christensen. They know what their identity is. Keep it organized and rely on their midfield of Godoy and Carrasquilla. Like, those two are the glue for this team. If Carrasquilla and Godoy don't play well, Panama don't function. If they play well, this team are functioning like a Ford Mustang. But The one thing I've realized with Panama, and we saw that in the Nations League, is when they go up against a Mexico, a Canada, or a Jamaica, can they take that next level? Clearly, they can beat the Costa Ricas, they can beat the Honduras, they can beat, Dominican Republic or any of these teams, Suriname. But can Panama take it to that next level? They've established themselves as being fourth or fifth best team in CONCACAF. But we've seen with CONCACAF teams, the level from CONCACAF to CONMEBOL is ridiculous. And I just don't think Panama have enough. I think their ultimate goal is obviously to qualify for the World Cup in 2026, which I think they will do because if I look at the other teams in CONCACAF, I just don't think they're good enough. And then also keep an eye on Murillo down the right side because he might get a couple goals, and he scored a ridiculous free kick against Costa Rica to qualify Panama for this tournament. But if somehow Panama beat the USA, I might throw my USA kit in the trash. I would give up. I would give up. Now let me talk about the USA. All right. If you didn't see last night, or wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you're in, the USA got destroyed, humiliated, and brought back down to earth. And rightfully so. I don't think this team can win Copa America. But talent-wise, they're a good team. Talent-wise, yes, they are a good team. But man, I mean, I had to rewatch the game this morning, and I had a massive hangover as well, people. It was my friend's celebration, so I had to go celebrate. I wake up this morning, and I look at the phone. I'm like, really? 5-1? Okay, first off, it was basically a game in Bogota, Medellin, or Cartagena. That's what the game was. But you lose 5-1. 5. They I got 5 on it. I don't even know how you say that in Spanish. I got 5. That's what Colombia did to the USA. There was a lot of worrying signs in that game. Now, I don't want to overreact and say, oh my God, yeah, this USA team is overrated. Look, we all know Greg is a PE teacher. We know that. We know that. I know it's cinco. I know it's cinco. I know it's cinco. But how do you say I got 5 on it in Spanish? The problem is, this team just don't defensively defend well. If you want to play an expansive game and go toe-to-toe with CONMEBOL teams, all right. But you got to have defenders who are willing to defend. The only guy who I looked at was defending well was Joe Scally. And he was up against the biggest threat for Colombia and Luis Diaz. And he actually did well, Scally. I don't think he had any problem. But Tim Ream, oh man, Tim Ream. Oh boy. I hope Tim Reams can somehow get it back together because yesterday was bad. Was bad. Same thing with Chris Richards. Bad. Matt Turner, the one guy who I thought could be, a year ago, I was like, yes, the USA finally found a goalkeeper. And now he's toasted. Roasted, toasted. So there is a lot of question marks with this USA team. And their next friendly is against Brazil. If they defend like that, Uruguay will put 6 on them. You can bookmark it here. If the USA defend exactly the same as they did against Colombia, and we know what Uruguay did, they press. And Colombia did the exact same thing. Colombia didn't have to put a crazy full pressing on the USA for the USA to make mistakes. No. But Uruguay will. Uruguay will absolutely press you for 90 minutes, and we'll see how you react. But USA still got a lot of talent, people. You see, you can say USA are cooked, they're done, and this sort of stuff, but I'm looking at Pulisic. I'm looking at Giovanni Reina. You guys got to step up. I know Anthony Robinson had a terrible game yesterday. I still think he's a quality player, but he's got to rise to the occasion. Really, he's got to rise to the occasion. So I wonder, really, it should be USA and Uruguay, people, right? And I don't think a lot of people are going to have the USA at number 1. I think everybody will have Uruguay at number 1. But if the USA get in a sticky situation where they need a result and the final match day is against Uruguay, USA are doomed. So if you're Panama, you have nothing to lose at this tournament. And same with Bolivia. They have nothing to lose at this tournament. The team that has the most to lose, actually in this group, is the USA. Because you're hosting it, you're hosting the World Cup in 2 years, and you don't have any competitive games heading into that World Cup. So you need to perform, and you need to show why people should believe you. And why there should be some hype around this team. Because now there should be no hype. Basically, they're just a fire festival. All promise, but no delivering. But I still rate Pulisic. I still rate Giovanni Reina. I still rate a lot of these guys. I wonder who's going to start as striker. If it's going to be Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Josh Sargent, or Haji Wright. because Balogun has not been good. I don't think he was really at fault yesterday for his play. He could have done a little bit better with that one chance he had like in the first 10 minutes, but it's a lot of worrying sign. It's just crazy how one game can just change the whole narrative, because everybody can just easily blame Greg and say, oh yeah, Greg, terrible, this and that. And you know my feelings. I don't rate the guy. Who rates Greg Berhalter in the year 2024? Who? Like, nobody does. So, but this group, it should be a cakewalk for Uruguay. Cakewalk. Absolute cakewalk. USA second, Panama third, Bolivia fourth. Let me know your thoughts in the chat and the comments down below as we go to the final group, people. Then we get to the quarterfinals and semifinals and all that beautiful stuff. And remember to hit the like button. We got 68 of you watching and only 40 likes. Why are we having the like count like Greg's tactics? Can we please get it like Bielsa or Scaloni or some of those tactics with the like count? Please, people. We got to at least get to minimum 60 likes during the stream. Minimum 60 likes. So please hit the like button very kindly. As we go to the final group, and we got Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, and Paraguay. And the website is football, by the way, so you guys can do your predictor as well. Let me just pick the team that I think will finish last, and I think a lot of people will have that, is Costa Rica. But one thing I will say is Costa Rica have a damn good manager in Gustavo Alvaro. They got that, at least they got that going for them, because otherwise, they got a new generation. They got a new generation for Costa Rica. Do they have, because Keylor Navas is gone, the only dude, and I talked about this in my preview as well, the only dude from that 24 team that is left is Joel Campbell. And he got selected to this tournament. So we at least get to see Joel Campbell one more time at a Copa America. But yeah, it's gonna be a long tournament for Costa Rica. It's gonna be good experience because they are a very, very young team, Costa Rica. Very young team. They have a couple players, I think, playing in Russia and other leagues, but they don't have a Brian Ruiz. They don't have a Keylor Navas. They don't have a Duarte. They don't have these sort of guys anymore. This is a new generation. They're at just phase one of the rebuild. They actually just got the plan out, had all the architecture done, and now they're going with the plan. So this rebuild is going to take a while. One player to watch out for is Ugalde. Also Captain Calvo. He's going to have to lead this team because that's really all of the hope for Costa Rica. Shout out to my Los Ticos fans. Hopefully you guys can perform well. You don't get... One thing we can always say is with Costa Rica, they're going to absolutely give a tough game to every team. They fight with absolute spirit. And if you actually look at some of their team goals, they scored, I think it was it Gustavo Alvaro's first game was the Honduras game in the Nations League? It might have been. But some of the team goals they played was phenomenal. The one-touch passes, the finishing. So if they have that same sort of finishing at the Copa America, they can score 2 goals. Because some of these teams, like a Brazil, they don't defend the best. So maybe Costa Rica could get a game, but they might concede 4-3. They might. So there's no Keylor Navas to bail them out anymore. The legend of Costa Rican football. But if anybody has any desire to put Costa Rica first, second, or third, please let me know in the comments down below or in the chat. Because if somehow Costa Rica do that, wow, that would be some achievement. So let's now get to the 3 CONMEBOL teams. We got Paraguay. Paraguay, man. Why is this team one of the most boring teams? Who's more boring, people? Because we all like international football here, and you guys are smart people in the chat. Only smart people subscribe to the Michael Talks football channel. Who's worse to watch? Tunisia or Paraguay? Because, god damn, Paraguay. I think it's now 1 goal in their last 7 or 8 games. 1 goal? Bro, like Paraguay are just, oh my god, they are so boring. They're just, yeah, they're frustrating as well, but they're bad. I watched their highlights against Peru. They created next to nothing. Nothing. That's what, like, Julio Enciso, who we all know is a baller, doesn't have a goal for the national team. Yeah, he's had a very difficult season dealing with injuries. But goddamn, Julio Enciso's got to turn into prime Messi. Almiron somehow has to find his shooting boots again, like he did in the first, 3 months of the season, 4 months of the season, when Almiron was actually good. And then the rest of the season, Almiron turned back to Almiron. So yeah, Paraguay have a lot of good players, like Gustavo Gomez as center back. He's a very good player. But I just think Paraguay, the only way they're going to make it out of this group is if they get a 0-0 against Brazil, beat Costa Rica 1-0, and lose to Colombia 1-0. They might actually, you know what's crazy? Paraguay might have 1 goal conceded and 1 goal scored during this group stage and still have 4 points. And you know what? We would not even care because that's the Paraguayan way. Shout out to my Paraguayans. But They are a very difficult team to play against. Very difficult. You ask Brazil, you ask any team in CONMEBOL, what's one side you don't want to play against? It's Paraguay. Because they're that sort of team. They're just they're that little tick on your skin and you're trying to get it off, but it's being a mofo and not easily coming off. That's Paraguay. They are the ticks. They are the mosquitoes of CONMEBOL. But I rate some of their players. Matias Rojas. I really like Matias Rojas. Obviously now he plays into Miami. Didn't have the greatest time in Brazil. When I saw him at Racing, I was like, wow, this guy with the left foot can score goals from anywhere. He's a good player. So they definitely have some decent players who can create some sort of magic, but it's very difficult to bank on Paraguay saying, yeah, they can get first or second in this group. Because look at the two other teams, people. Look what they're going up against. So before we get to my top three, got to talk about Brazil. So it's going to be a very interesting tournament from Brazil. They have a lot of talented players, and Endrick now has 3 goals in 97 minutes for the national team. Think about what I just said, people. Endrick has 3 goals in 97 minutes. That is astonishing. And he hasn't done that against Suriname or French Guiana or, well, shout out to Lesotho, but Lesotho, for example. No, he's done that against England. He's done that against Spain. And he did that against Mexico. Endrick. Now, I don't know why you're taking off your t-shirt, bro. It's a friendly, but fair enough. You want to create a more catalog of photos? Good for him. Endrick is going to have a crazy catalog of photos by the end of his career. We know Brazil, man. There's always going to be pressure on Brazil to perform. When you have guys like Vinicius, who, yes, people can say, Michael, he only has 3 goals from the national team. I agree. He's got to step up in this tournament. If Vini doesn't play well, Brazil don't have a sniff at that Copa America. They will not go to Miami for that final. No chance. But Vinicius has to step up. Same with Rodrigo. And Endrick, who's 17 years old, might just have to do it. He might just have to do it. Now, there should be absolutely zero comparisons between Endrick and R9. The guy, R9, at 17, 18, was a joke. Endrick, look, he's got a long career to go, Endrick. I think he's a phenomenal striker, and he's got a lot of weight on his shoulder now, because you look at the Brazilian strikers and you're like, where the hell are they? Where are they? So, Brazil have very good attack. They got a good midfield, because I still would go with Douglas Luiz, I would go with Bruno Guimaraes, and I would go with Lucas Paqueta. Those would be my 3 midfielders there. The issue they're going to have is defensively, they are not looking solid one bit. 3 goals to Spain, 2 goals to Mexico. You're conceding to Venezuela. So defensively, they don't have a leader. They don't have a Thiago Silva who can lead the defense. Marquinhos, we see, when it gets to a big game, Marquinhos doesn't lead. That's why I would go with like Gabriel or Bremer or one of those guys. So yeah, Brazil are, I think, the most fascinating team at this Copa America, because it can go either way. It can go really good, like go to the final or win the Copa America, or it could actually be disastrous and they go out of this group. Because it would not shock me one bit if Paraguay somehow beat Brazil 1-0. It wouldn't. And Alisson, yeah, shout out to TJ. Alisson was terrible yesterday against Mexico. He was terrible. So he's got to step up because there's no Ederson. So there's a lot of question marks with Brazil. I still think they got a lot of good players, man. I just hope Vini can rise to the occasion, because we see his play for Real Madrid. This guy, if he plays well for Brazil and he can be the main guy and lead them to a semifinal or final, he will win the Ballon d'Or. He will, because of his phenomenal play during the Champions League. But we want to see that for Brazil at the Copa America. Will Vini deliver? Time will tell. And the last team then in this group is Colombia. Now, Colombia, 22 games unbeaten, people. The longest streak in international football. And they just destroyed the USA and said, take that. Take that. Colombia, man, what can we say, people? They're like, the only question mark we will have with Colombia is, can they rise to the occasion? Because it's cool doing it friendlies. You're beating Spain in friendlies. You're beating Brazil with Lucho's dad going crazy in the crowd. It's cute doing it then. But when it gets to Copa America, are you guys actually going to perform? Are you guys actually going to perform? Will you rise to the occasion, Colombia? Because with the way they're playing, Arias, Lucho, James, obviously Borja, Broya, who, if he comes onto the field, Daniel Munoz on the right side, bro. This right back is just taking it to another level this season. When he made the move to Crystal Palace, now you see how effective he is on the right side for Colombia. Colombia got all of their players in form. They got all in form. But will they handle the pressure of the Copa America? Because now the expectation is you're playing this wonderful football. You got the confidence. Let's see if you make it to a semifinal. Let's see. So they got a very good team. They got exceptional talents. And I think they got a good bench. Because I saw a lot. Yasser Asprilla didn't even play yesterday. And this kid is a really, really good player. Yon Duran can come off the bench. They got difference makers off the bench. Sinisterra came off the bench and scored. Just shows you the depth that Colombia have is very underrated. Very, very underrated. I just wonder if they can keep going with this momentum more and more. And they're going to have a difficult group on their hands. So this is what I think will go down with this group. I think it's going to play exactly like this. I think Brazil will be first, Colombia will be second, and Paraguay will be third. I think somehow Brazil, we have a lot of question marks about it. People, saying, oh, look at this generation of Brazil. This is not good enough. Where is all the ballers? And I did say that about their fullbacks mainly. But I still think they can perform. They got the goal scorers. They just got to work on a little bit more defensively. The game between Brazil and Colombia is going to be awesome. I think that's going to be one of the most watched games at this Copa America because between those two, who knows what's going to happen. It could be like Brazil 3-1. It could be Colombia 3-1. It could be 2-2. It could be an exceptional game. I cannot wait for it, but I still think Brazil will be first. I still think Brazil will be first in this group, and Colombia will be second. And Paraguay, I have a funny feeling, though, with Paraguay, man. You can never write them off. You can never write them off. So then we go to the quarterfinals, people. We go with the quarterfinals. And yes, people, thank you. We all hit 55 likes. Fantastic. Can we get to 100 likes, people? Can we get 100 likes on the stream? And if you're watching on replay, give your thoughts and give your predictions of the group stage as we move on to the quarterfinals. Now, this is not going to be a good sight for Mexico fans. This is not going to be a good sight because we know what's going to happen here. We know what's going to happen here. This is when it ends for Mexico. If somehow Mexico beat Argentina, oh my God. After all of those years in the World Cup and you couldn't do it in the World Cup, you choose to do it in the Copa America? Really? Nah, it's not going to happen though. I mean, Argentina might win that game 4-1, 4-0. They might. Or it could be a very cagey game that we saw in the World Cup where it was 0-0 at halftime. It was one of the worst halves of football we will ever see. And then Messi happened and then Enzo Fernandez happened. Could see the exact same thing for that game, but I just don't think Mexico have any chance against Argentina. I really don't. I think if somehow Mexico could pull that off, Jimmy Lozano might be a genius. And build him a statue, build him a monument, build him a stadium. Because if Jimmy Lozano can somehow beat this Argentina team, lifetime contract forever. Still no. No, but yeah, Argentina will definitely beat Mexico in the quarterfinal. They will. The next game, though, in the quarterfinals is Ecuador and Chile. Now, this game, we know they got some history with each other because the reason why Ecuador started off with -3 points is because of the Chile situation. So they got some beef. And this would be a really fascinating game because you have obviously Ricardo Gareca going up against Felix Sanchez. You have a team that are very solid defensively in Ecuador. And then you have Chile who got the momentum. They got a lot of players. They got good attacking players. So I think it's going to be a very tactical game, I would say. Very tactical. The issue that Ecuador will have is how do we break the press of Chile? Well, you're just going to play it through Caicedo and play through Kendry Pais. Exactly the same. I think it was there was that sequence that Kendry and Caicedo did. I can't remember which game it was. Was it Uruguay or was it Chile? Where they just completely just destroyed them. Completely destroyed the midfield. And they were able to bypass the press and they went on the attack Ecuador. So this game is going to be completely different than what we saw in the World Cup qualifiers where I think it was only a 1-0 victory for Ecuador. Or was it 0-0? I can't remember exactly in the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. I still think Ecuador would still beat Chile. They might win this game 1-0. It might be 1-0 and it could be a Kendry Pais screamer. So, yeah, I think Ecuador could nullify. And somehow, I think I got Felix Sanchez making it to a semifinal. If that happens, all right, people. I will only do an apology video for Felix Sanchez if Ecuador make it to a final. That's the only way. I don't care about semifinal. Look at this road to the semifinal, people. If somehow Felix Sanchez makes it to a final, then I'll make an apology video for him because of all the stuff I've said about him, all the stuff. Now we get to Uruguay and Colombia. Now this is going to be absolutely insane. The only issue for me is this game will probably be at 4 a.m., but I will wake up to watch it because Uruguay and Colombia in a quarterfinal, bro. Get the popcorn, get the mate, get the juice, get whatever drink or food. This is going to be insane. This will be insane. Because we know both teams, they drew with each other 2-2 back in the World Cup qualifier games. James, I think, scored a goal. It was... Actually, you know what? Guaranteeing this game, James will score against Uruguay. Because that's what he always does. James always scores against Uruguay. He did that in 2014. He did that last year in the World Cup qualifiers. This will be a phenomenal game. I think it will be super high scoring. And it's just a matter of who's going to get the last goal. Who would you say is a better defensive team? I would still lean towards Uruguay, have a better defensive team. Who has a better midfield? Ooh, now that is a big question. Because, Colombia's midfield is very underrated, and I think they can go toe-to-toe. But Uruguay just got so... If Colombia play like an expansive game in this scenario, the one thing is Uruguay, they are a phenomenal team on the counterattack. We saw that with Pelistri. We saw that with... Darwin, we saw that with Araujo. This team got a lot of good players. And Valverde going up against, Jefferson Lerma or Matias Orube. So it is going to be great. I think this is going to be a great game. Oh, really difficult to call. Really, really difficult to call. It could be 2-2, 3-2, who knows. But everybody, if this is a quarterfinal game, I unfortunately cannot do a watch along for it because it will be too early for me, and I will not have the energy, or I cannot yell either because I will wake up the neighbors, and then the neighbors like, hey, that dude with the fisherman's hat, he's got to leave this building ASAP. I'm gonna go to Uruguay. Uruguay will do this. I think they just have a little bit more dynamic attack. For me, it's 50-50. I could see it going either way. Colombia are a good team, but Uruguay just narrowly edge it over Colombia. Then the final game. Now, you guys cannot see the opponent. No. Let me just end the pain quickly, bro. Let me just end the pain quickly. I mean, USA they got a chance. If Greg pulls this off, because when was the last time USA had a big victory? If this happened, this would be one of the greatest victories ever. And I mean ever for the USA. But it ain't going to happen. Because if the USA keep on defending like they have against Brazil with Vini, can you imagine Vini? He's looking at Joe Scally. He's saying, who are you? Who are you? Now, I know Joe Scally, obviously, he's had a decent season with Mönchengladbach. He did very well against Lucho yesterday. But he's going to look at Joe Scally and say, who's this guy? I'm going to absolutely eat him up tonight. Then, Endrick is going to look at the two center backs. Endrick is going to look at Tim Ream and say, barbecue chicken, and I'm going to eat well tonight. Oh, it's going to be a feast for the Brazilian attackers. And then the midfield for the USA got to rise to the occasion. If this is the matchup, Weston McKennie, you name it, they will have to rise to the occasion. Nah, Brazil will have too much. Nobody in their right mind would pick Greg Berhalter to beat Brazil. Until that happens, until Greg can show to me and to every of you neutrals or if you're a USA fan, until he shows that, hey, you can beat England, you can beat an Argentina, you can beat Colombia, you can beat Uruguay or Brazil, nobody will have faith in you until you do it. It will not happen here, though. Brazil will make it to the semifinal of another Copa America. Now it gets to the point of, will they win it? Will they do it? So let's now get to the semifinals, people. And obviously give your quarterfinal matchups of what you think it will be in the comments down below. And also, who do you think is making the semifinals? So now we get to the semifinals. We got one semifinal. It's Argentina and Ecuador. Now this would be the biggest game in Ecuador's history. One of the biggest games in Ecuador's history. The other one would probably be the round of 16 in 2006 when they played against England, where they actually had a decent chance in that first half. I remember very vividly about that. Other than that, yeah, this would be one of the biggest games in Ecuador's history. And we did see in the Colombia World Cup qualifiers. The only difference in these two teams, and Ecuador had a very good defensive shape against Argentina. The only thing that was missing in that game was just a Messi free kick. That was the only difference between the two teams. Yes, Ecuador didn't keep a lot of the ball. I think they only had like 27 or 28% ball possession. They did look a little bit threatening on the counterattack, but without Estupiñán, I think Estupiñán is a big miss though. If Estupiñán was fit, then you have a threat down that left side. Now it's probably going to be Piero Hincapié who's going to be making those runs down the left, and we know Piero Hincapié, very good defender, but going forward, it doesn't add a lot. He doesn't. So I think Argentina will find it very difficult. Ecuador, it's probably going to be a 1-0 game. I could see it being very cagey. Ecuador, nullifying every attack for Argentina. Then, Scaloni might bring on Lautaro or Alvarez just to try and mix it up. And then will not be shocked if the only thing that will be the difference is another Messi screamer. That would be the only difference. So I think Argentina, look, they got a cakewalk to this final. Let's be honest here. And I'm a big fan of Argentina. I love Argentinian football. They got a cakewalk to the final. To avoid Uruguay, Brazil, and Colombia to a final, bro, it's cakewalk. Absolute cakewalk. So yeah, Argentina to make it to final. I would love to see Ecuador make it to a final. I would love it. Why do you think I got this kit, bro? Why do you think I got the yellow one? Because I think that Ecuador have a very talented team, but if they had a striker like a Darwin Núñez, for example, if Ecuador had that, now Ecuador could be a sleeper winner. They could be, but they just don't have that enough going forward, and I think Argentina will be too much. Now, the other semifinal, though. Now, this one, this is going to be interesting. It is Uruguay and Brazil. Long history between the two nations. They border with each other. I think Araujo is from this... Correct me if I'm wrong, people. I think Araujo is from the city that is bordering Uruguay and Brazil. I could be wrong, but I think I read that somewhere. So this game is going to be very fascinating because Brazil just have not looked good defensively still under Dorival. I think they could get better and improve on that during the tournament. But then you're going up against Uruguay, who will be very quick on the counterattack, have a lot of different goal scorers. Valverde is going to have a very good game. Oh, no, it definitely won't be a cakewalk. No, 100% liquid. Valverde will have a very good game against Brazil. This is now going to be the big test for Endrick. If Endrick can score against Araujo, Jimenez, and Rochette in goal, bro, Endrick might be it. He might be the truth. He might, how people say he's him? Then we're going to go to he's the truth. Because if he can score against an Uruguay team, defensively that are still good, now Endrick is going to, the posters are going to be crazy. And then Vini going up. Actually, you know what? The one thing that would worry me for Brazil is that Bielsa will definitely put Araujo on the right back and just say, do exactly what you do for Barcelona against Real Madrid and do it in this game. He will do the exact same thing, Bielsa, because he did that against, I think it was Argentina away. I think he had Araujo at the right-sided. Now, I cannot remember if he had either Nandes or Araujo against Brazil when it was the World Cup qualifiers. I cannot remember exactly. But I think that could be a tactical thing that Bielsa will do. And then Brazil, if you're Brazil, you have to look at Uruguay under Bielsa and say, if we can just beat their press, we're going to have a lot of space. So then the likes of Lucas Paqueta can cook, Rodrigo, obviously Endrick, Vini. That's where Brazil, if this is going to be the matchup, Brazil just got to beat the press. They know how Bielsa is going to play. They already played against them. So nothing's going to be new. And it's just about the players really rising to the occasion and not feeling, frustrated. Okay, if we don't do it once, we got to try it again. You can't just say, all right, didn't work once, we're just going to go long. Because that's exactly what Bielsa wants to do. Frustrate the opponents. But I think Brazil have the sort of players that could really hurt Uruguay. And yeah, I think it's going to be Uruguay, man. I think Uruguay will make it to the final. I think Uruguay are going to do it, people. I think they can just narrowly beat Brazil. I feel, you know what? Even though I'm so harsh on Darwin because I watch him every weekend, there's just the part of me that says he's going to absolutely cook. He's going to cook at this. He's going to cook the finest Uruguayan steak possible. And their steak is damn good. I had it in Montevideo. It is a damn good steak. Uruguay just have those they have the ingredients to cook up a really good Copa America. They got the manager, they got the players, and defensively, they can go old school Uruguay and say, once we get that first goal, we're just going to keep it locked down here. Brazil, they could frustrate them. They obviously have the attackers to cause a threat, but I just think it's a tournament too early for Brazil. When they get the likes of Estevao involved in this national team, Endrick having a couple years in Europe, I think 2026, we're going to see a very good Brazil team. Now, I think it's just a little bit of a baby step. And we'll see how it goes on. Now, it gets to the final. Actually, we got the bronze medal game. I'll give it to Brazil. I think Brazil will beat Ecuador, and Ecuador will still not have a medal in this Copa America history. Now, the final. The final. It is for number 16 then, huh? It's for number 16. For number 16. Somebody. Ay, no puede ser. No puede ser. Es un Yankee, ¿sí? Okay, maybe this is not the greatest camiseta to show off. This is a better one though. This is 5-1. This is definitely 5-1 though. That's definitely 5-1. All right, so let's get to the final then. The final will be for number 16, and the final will be the king of the Rio de la Plata. Yeah, I think it's Rio de la Plata. If my memory serves me right. If my geography is kicking in right now. This will be fantastic. Argentina, Uruguay in Miami. Probably 80% of the stadium will be Argentina fans. The 20% will be Uruguay fans. It will be a phenomenal final. I wish I had money. I wish I was a millionaire. I wish I was freaking Logan Paul, where I would have the money and I would go watch this game, because this would be a cinema. They would need to do a Netflix, Amazon, HBO series on this, because whoever loses this final would get absolutely crucified. If Argentina win, they're just going to bully Uruguay. And if Uruguay win, they're just going to bully Argentina. They're going to bully them. This will be the final that we will always remember. You always remember the final of 2018 Copa Libertadores. Sorry, Boca fans. We will always remember the 2010 World Cup final, because that was going to be a new winner. So it's either Netherlands or Spain, and it turned out to be a very memorable final. I think this one will be up there. Now, is it going to be a glorious spectacle final? Probably not. It's good, Has there ever been a great Copa America final? Well, I would probably say 2011 and 2019 were pretty good. Brazil and Peru put up a good game. Uruguay and Paraguay was a good game, even though Uruguay turned out to be just unstoppable that day and unstoppable that whole tournament. So this one will be, oh man, I could not even imagine the tension in the stadium. I could not even imagine the tension in Buenos Aires to Montevideo. I could not even imagine. This is when I wish I was in South America during that time. Obviously, they played against each other back in, when was it, November, October. Uruguay got their first ever victory in Argentina in World Cup qualifiers, because I had to really, what's the word I'm looking for in English? Correct myself. Yeah, correct myself. Because it wasn't the first time ever. Obviously, they beat them in the Copa America back in 2011 on, was it penalties? Yeah, I think it was penalties. Now it's Uruguay and Argentina in 2024 in Miami. And I just think it will be back to back. As much as I would love to say Bielsa will do this, I think Scaloni would have learned a couple of things from that game when Uruguay and Bielsa tactically outclassed them. Tactically. They should know. All of the Argentinian players and Scaloni will know exactly how Bielsa is going to play. Pressing, and if we can beat the press, boom, we're good. Now, the one thing Bielsa did in that game, though, he sat in a low block, and he just trusted the guys of Ugarte. He trusted the guys of De La Cruz and Valverde just to do great work. And especially Ugarte. Ugarte in that game at the Bombonera was a beast. He turned into absolute beast mode. But I think Argentina would have learned a couple of things. I think they have that experience of finals, people. They don't lose finals now with Scaloni and Messi. They don't. They beat Italy. They beat France. They beat Brazil. They have all the experience now in finals. And I think Argentina we'll go back to back. Now, I would love to see Uruguay. If I had to choose, I would choose Uruguay. And there's no disrespect to Argentina's. You people know, obviously got rank. I met obviously Marcos in Buenos Aires. So I've met many Argentinas. They know how much I love Argentinian football. But I would love to see Uruguay do it, man. Just for Bielsa. That's the only thing. But I think Argentina, at the end of the day, will make it back-to-back Copa Americas and now be the kings of South America with 16 in their trophy cabinet. And now they will have one more than Uruguay. But everybody, please, 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 let me know your predictions. Who do you think will win the Copa America? Is it going to be back-to-back for Argentina? Will Brazil do it? Maybe Colombia, because I can't lie. Whoever is going to win that Colombia-Uruguay game, in my predictions, in the quarterfinal, I think we'll make it to the final. So who do you think will make it to the final? Who will win it? And also, who will be top goal scorer of the Copa America? Will it be Messi, Darwin Núñez, hey, even Luis Diaz? You never know. Maybe even Borja from Colombia. Or Kendry Páez could just be the next Messi and score 3 goals and have 4 assists in this Copa America. You never know. But there's the predictions, people. I want to thank you all for your kind support. We've already hit 70 likes. Really appreciate it. We've hit 15K subscribers. I really want to say big, big thank you to you all. Without you, I would not do this every week. Obviously I get somewhat of money from this, but it's not my job. I just do this as a hobby. We all are here to talk about the sport that we all love. And the sport we all love is Fujiball, Yalcapalo, football, you name it. It's the best sport in the world. And to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it during the Copa America. One thing I will have to say, though, a lot of these games I will not be able to watch, of course. Because here in Finland, the games will be at, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. So sometimes you're going to have to help me in the comments down below with my reactions to the games. If I miss something, please just let me know. Please let me know, because I will miss maybe some small, minor details. So I will ask that you inform me in the comments down below of the reaction videos. And I cannot probably do a reaction to all the games. So what will it be is more of a recap of the day game. So there will obviously be 2 games per day. I'll recap them, and the video will be out. And obviously then I'll give my quarterfinal, semifinal predictions, and then obviously to the final. But everybody, thank you all for your kind support. Remember, tomorrow we're going to have the 15K celebration stream. There will be a giveaway on the stream. So if you want a prize, that will be the stream to do it. But you all have a beautiful day. I will play the Copa intro one more time as we head out. You all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Enjoy where you are in the world. And see you all for more Copa America content and Euro content as the Euros start on Friday. Have a beautiful day. Stay safe in this crazy world. Till next time. Adiós.
¡Aquí viene Guerrero! ¡Peruano! ¡Centro para Córdoba! ¡Luta!